But why do you think the Niners are further down on the fun list? Is it something to do with their history, the fact that they used to be this dynasty and the team that a lot of kids rooted for in the 90s? Or do you think that's a good thing? Some people my age that when you're picking a bandwagon team is like an 8 or 9-year-old, you're like, hey, the 49ers, they had some great players. Do you think there are people who are going to be back aboard the bandwagon for the 49ers now?
Yes, I do. The 49ers have an incredible history, going for Super Bowl number 6 in franchise history, which would tie them with the Patriots and the Steelers, I believe. But the Niners were unbelievable in the 80s. Imagine the transition going from Joe Montana to Steve Young at quarterback. And then they had Bill Walsh and Jerry Rice. I mean, they were just so good. Ronnie Lott, you can go on and on about those Niners teams. But you tend to forget, at least recent history-wise, oh, yeah, this is one of the most storied franchises and decorated franchises in the National Football League. For some reason, I will say, though, the Niners seem robotic to me. Maybe that's not the right adjective.
Boring.
It's just boring. Yeah.
I think it's because Brock Purdy is their quarterback. Don't you think? Because it's shovel passes.
It has something to do with it.
And, it's just Deebo Samuel that takes it 30. I totally agree with what you're saying, but I don't have a concrete point of evidence to show for it. But I do agree with you. Like, there's something, I don't know, something that just feels very, I don't want to say like corporate, just boring. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you would say about the Niners, like with concrete evidence, because they do have exciting players on their team. Maybe it's just because they've been so good all season long. The storylines for the Chiefs, it feels like we've already seen them. We know Patrick Mahomes is really good. We know Andy Reid is really good. And they've already won a Super Bowl. So I feel like you take them out of the mix. You say, okay, well, they've already won one. Isn't that like the normal train of thought for normal people, is like you always want somebody to win something that hasn't won it at least in a little bit. I think the best storyline is possibly what we saw with Lamar Jackson's free agency and the fact that there were so few calls from other teams. Because do you remember this? Like he was saying, I wasn't fielding calls from other teams. And, maybe there was some talk, but wasn't his mom his agent? And he was having such a tough time commanding the money that he wanted. And now look at him. He is knocking on the door to playing in the Super Bowl. So I think that's my favorite angle here.
I love it too. And Double D, you want to get in here one last time? Maybe not the last time. Even after last week, when David, the purple monster, said, oh, he's going to fold like a chair. Didn't fold like a chair. And I read in the chat a few days ago, Double D, you said Lamar is going to choke this weekend. So you are not convinced after last weekend? And might I remind you, sir, you have purple in your beard. Ravens colors. Explain yourself.
My daughter picked the color.
I'm talking about your Lamar Jackson pick.
Oh,
or your lack of faith.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My lack of faith?
Yeah.
History, ladies and gentlemen, is all you have to go on. Lamar before last week was 1-3 in the playoffs. Therein lies. Don't get me wrong. I think Lamar is a heck of a talent. I just don't like how people put him on a pedestal when he has done nothing in the postseason. Absolutely nothing. Great statistics during the season, don't get me wrong. But in the postseason, he had a great game last Sunday. Great game. But guess what? Playoff Patrick and playoff Kelsey are a different animal. I think.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second. So
play devil's advocate.
If the measuring stick is, all right, you haven't done anything in the playoffs, which is, sort of. But also, every single quarterback in the AFC has had to get through the Chiefs, right? Every single one. So do you
100.
think that Justin Herbert is overrated? Do you think that Josh Allen is overrated? If the bar is you have to accomplish whatever this is in the postseason, is it getting past the Chiefs? Because by that metric, the only guy worth a damn is Patrick Mahomes. Is there something intangible when it comes to a Patrick Mahomes-led team, this team. And I say that because even in a year when it looks like, okay, this isn't the best version that they've had, they just seem to always find a way no matter the situation, if that makes sense.
This is where the Patriots example comes to mind. I'm sure you guys have brought it up. I mean, we all watched the Patriots many years ago with Tom Brady, and what, 3 of those rings at least, I would argue, were a year where we're all like, okay, that team's just they're not good enough this year. It's going to be one of those off years for Brady. Next thing you know, we're all watching on, Championship Sunday, and then eventually for the Super Bowl, and there's Tom Brady hoisting another Lombardi. I mean, I'm not saying that he's at Brady's level yet, but if there was anybody else that you can make the comp to, it's obviously Patrick Mahomes. And so if you're looking at how Brady was able to will teams through, where you go through the 53-man roster and you look at the opponent like the Ravens that the Chiefs are facing on Sunday, and they're healthier than the Chiefs, and you go through all these reasons why, the Ravens should win this game, but yet it would not surprise anybody, I don't think it should at least, if the Chiefs end up in the Super Bowl again. And that's just what some of the great ones do. They find ways to carry their team. And it's not just Mahomes. I think Andy Reid is part of this as well. Yesterday, I guess Mahomes was asked about, why does this team not have some of the same distractions that you see in other markets? And he credited Andy Reid. He said that foundation was there before I was even here in Kansas City. And so I think it starts at the top with Andy Reid, and truly the mentality. They always talk in training camp that they build up their goal and focus all offseason is the AFC West, and obviously they have bigger goals than that. But just the way they approach it, and no matter how many Super Bowl titles that you have, still this team is able to reset each year, and I think that's a credit to Andy Reid. And then now here they are, and they're as prepared and experienced as any team still alive.
Okay, so on paper, the Ravens have a ton of advantages. Overall, they look like the much better team. The defense has been rock solid, even against the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But there is one stat, or trend, I should say, that is making me very scared to bet on the Ravens. And that is Patrick Mahomes as an underdog. 9-1-1 against the spread. That is a pretty jarring metric and something that makes me very nervous. Where does this fit into your handicap?
Yeah, so look, I'm at a point now, and I know this is not typically a smart way to approach trends, right? Because trends to me should guide you. They shouldn't be why you just flat out bet something. But this is one, Chelsa, where I really struggle with, because you're telling me that a guy that's going to either be, to me, the second greatest quarterback of all time, or when it's all said and done, who knows? We'll have that debate in 10 or 15 years from now between him and Brady. And when Brady was an underdog, we all ran to the table in the window, I should say, to bet. And so I'm kind of there with Mahomes. I'll be honest. Like, you're going to give me 3.5. I saw one book last night, one book that I could still find a 4 on the board even. You're going to give me 3.5 or 4 points for Patrick Mahomes on the road against a quarterback that still has struggled at times in the postseason. That's 1-3 against Patrick Mahomes, a quarterback that once called Mahomes and the Chiefs his kryptonite until he won on a Sunday Night Football game back in 2021, in which Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled the ball on what was a drive to ice the game away. Like, I struggle with that. Like, I'm not at the point where I'm willing to tell you the Chiefs are winning this game. I need to find out a lot more on the injury front. But I am very close to just saying, hey, Mahomes underdog, I don't care what it is. If it's over 3, I'm betting it. And that's kind of where I'm leaning right now.